Succession is done. I just finished watching the last ever episode of Succession, and it was unreal. If I was in charge of like other shows, I'd be terrified. If I was involved in Game of Thrones or other shows that have dropped the ball with their series finales, this feels like humiliation. This was so good, and this season has been so satisfying. I can't believe how well this finale went, and the show hasn't really given me a reason to doubt it so far. But the whole time I was sort of thinking, oh, there's so much material to be mined here. Like, how could you possibly end it? And then by the time you get to the end of this episode, you're like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, this is the Shakespearean way to end this. This was this was unreal. So many good character moments. I don't even know where to start. Initially, the episode felt concerned over like Roman's well-being and Roman's safety, so the siblings sort of go to meet Roman and their mother. That essentially starts the plot forward. Kendall's obviously got his plot for takeover going on. Shiv's got hers. The two things that sort of get this grand finale of the series kind of put into motion are two events that are closely linked. The first one is the revelation to Tom from Matsson that he isn't going with Shiv anymore. And for very weird, uncomfortable reasons, it seems like he's boiled that decision down to the fact that he wants to sleep with Shiv. And two is basically, Greg leaking that information over to Kendall. And those are the two things that essentially like drive this finale forward. It's Tom's potentially going to take over with Matsson, and Kendall now wants to align with Shiv because he knows that she's going to be kicked out. So from there, you've basically got your teams for the last episode. It's the siblings take on Tom and Matsson's crew. It is... there are so many good moments. Initially, if you're a Kendall fan, which I think the show previously has positioned Kendall to be the main character and the sort of empathetic one up until the last 20 minutes of this. But yeah, if you're a Kendall fan, for a good chunk of this episode, it feels like you're going to have a good time. And it initially shifts. We've seen Kendall like really happy. I don't think we've seen Kendall smile like that for like ever. Like previously when he smiled, there's clearly a hidden layer of I hate myself behind it, but he seems like genuinely happy and like elated at that scene over in the sea. Once sort of this like tension leaves these characters, I mean obviously it comes back, but when Shiv, Roman and Kendall are over at their mother's house and they decide, yeah, we've got this, we're going to take over, we're fine, Kendall, we're happy with you doing it. There's this like tension relief, like they can just be kids again. They can be their siblings again. You see them kind of like riffing and having fun and like teasing their mum. And it seems like, all right, like the tension's gone. We can just be people again. How nice.
The lovely scene we call Meal Fit for a King. That sense of recaptured innocence. Kids just being kids, no matter what their income. Everything seemed possible, and yet...
Wear your crown, sir.
No.
My understanding of the show has always been that it's a tragedy, and therefore every moment of hope like that is so cruel because you're just waiting for that shoe to drop.
You get this really beautiful like sequence of the kids sort of just being kids again. And it feels too good to be true. And I was watching it at the time going, this feels too good to be true, but there were still elements of like, we have to sort out this and this and this. And I was like, cool, it's just going to be an awesome war. And it lulls you into a false sense of security, weirdly enough, because I really did not think that the way this was going to go was any of those siblings fucking over each other, which I probably should have known, but like the false sense of security that like montage at the mother's house gave me, and I assume most people watching, was really effective. Like I was like, oh, they're unified, like they're good, they're going to win, it's fine. We also, before I get in like the big shocking twist moments, we got a great send off with Connor. Connor is a character that in previous seasons I felt like, given the weight and seriousness of the show. I've always felt like he's a bit of a time filler, but I think the level of like humanity and almost like compassion they gave his character in this last episode, and he really brought in a lot of heart into characters and dynamics that previously have been really nasty. I think that sequence where he shows the like virtual dinner, I thought was gonna go into the direction of like some weird satire, like how uncomfortable is this, but it was actually like a really beautiful moment. And I must say, like, the choice to make these last two episodes like an hour 20 and an hour and a half and just letting these scenes run is great. How many shows really get the chance just to sort of have their cake and eat it too and be like, all right, we want a show, we want a serialized format, but we're going to take 90 minutes for this finale because that's what it deserves. And it's just so refreshing that like HBO Max and essentially streaming in general allows for seasons of television to like, you know, kind of break away from the chains of traditional TV. We can have different episode lengths based on what we need. And I just think the lack of like strict editing here and the ability to like sit with these really heartfelt scenes is great, because yeah, it's not entirely moving the plot forward, but it's just so sweet. And we really haven't seen Logan be that human. And you see that, and you see that video of Logan essentially being sweet and happy and funny, and it kind of validates what Shiv was saying in the last episode at the funeral, where she says, yeah, my dad was like a cold bastard, but like it felt good in the warmth when the sun occasionally shone from him. And like you see that, and like you even see that Kerry like and him clearly like were actually into each other. Like it looks genuinely like sweet, which is weird to say for such a menace of a character. I love, oh my god, what a great, like if you're a Tom and Greg fan, what great content. Yeah, Tom just really stepping into his Logan energy and slapping Greg. It was, yeah, genuinely like an uncomfortable confrontation. And I think the actor Nicholas Braun, who plays Greg, does a really good job of cowering in fear. He's always been good at that. Like even that water bottle scene, which people have always found funny, there's a level of like fear that Nicholas Braun is able to show in these moments that is really good and really captivating to watch. And I think even though, yes, he is the comedic punching bag of the show, I think his ability to actually be scared and be frazzled can actually like add a good weight to these scenes. And yeah, that slapping confrontation, really hard to watch. There is a sequence at the hour-ish mark, so heading into the last 30 minutes of this episode, that is just one revelation, one incredible like score moment after another. The sequence, it starts with the revelation that Tom is going to take over. So Tom and Shiv have their moment, and then that sort of really nasty rendition of the theme starts playing.
It's Tom.
What?
It's fucking Tom.
Tom?
Yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's run our numbers.
Then we jump into Tom and Greg face off.
You fucking prick.
And then we jump into Lucas Matson rallying the troops.
All right, wake up, zombies! Time to activate! Come on! Phones! I want to see some fucking phones! Emma!
And it's just one incredible, like, here we go moment after another, heading us into the last 30 minutes, which is the board vote. Before we get to like the boardroom vote and like the big climactic sequence of this show, I do just want to talk about how beautifully like uncomfortable Kendall and Roman's like embrace together was. The setup here is obviously Roman has sort of in essentially like got himself beat up in the last episode because he wanted to feel something, and then here he's sort of thinking that everyone's going to look at him like a joke because of the scars he's endured. And then Kendall embraces him, and Roman starts essentially in this hug starts trying to like essentially mess up his face and like undo the stitches on Kendall's shoulder.
Oh, you fucking bastard!
Oh, shit. Fucking hate you.
It's just a very good way of communicating the way Roman has been treated his whole life, and also how he expresses love and his ability to not do so. Like, he can't even embrace his brother in a moment of weakness without sort of literally, physically tearing himself apart. It's a hard scene to watch. It's just such a good turning up to 11 moment. It's like, it's the series finale we're not going to be able to see these characters again. Like, let's just give you as many big moments as we can. And obviously the tension that's going on and the weight behind everything that's happening at the moment, obviously these characters are going to be in a hostile state. Explaining why Greg and Tom had their slap on, and also why Roman's doing what he is doing. Which leads us to the boardroom meeting, and I was just uncomfortable. Kendall has this weird ability to, in some moments, actually like come off with essentially, for lack of a better term, big dick energy. Like, he can do it. He's had moments where he can like insult people and give these incredible speeches where you're like, oh, I get it. I can see him as like the next CEO. But at the same time, then he'll, you know, come to do it in public and he'll just fumble the bag. Like, what was that shitty speech he did at the board? It sucked. And it's like, it wasn't even as good as his funeral speech. And it's like, he was talking earlier in the show when he was trying to put down Roman as next CEO, and he sounded incredible. But then when it comes to talking in front of the board, he just sounds like an idiot. And it's like, Kendall, no, please.
Yeah, this deal, the deal is a bad deal. The Gojo offer. We were proud to land it, me and Rome. We know it inside out, but it's a bad deal. And if you want it to go through, you'll have to fire me and find someone else to take it through.
I guess the thing is, yeah, was it a bit, you know, okay, it's going to be down to one last vote and it's going to be even Stevens. Like, was it a bit contrived? Sure. But I guess the drama it brought out of Shiv going to the other room and these three siblings like hashing it out was incredible. Yeah, okay, sure. We've done the whole, the vote rests on the sibling before. We did it in season 1, episode 6 with the vote of no confidence. It does feel like the showrunners having their cake and eating it too, but the scenes that come out of that, the character moments that come out in that like office, Kendall, what the fuck?
I don't think that you would be good at this.
For fuck's sake, Shiv!
Kendall has always been a character that gets in his own way. Roman obviously mentioned at the start of the show that like Kendall loves to self-destruct because it's his favorite. And we've seen so many times Kendall get this sort of battery in his back behind him just to fuck it up. And I guess the weird thing here is he just gets ugly and he becomes unredeemable. Like he's had so many moments where he either comes back to humanity and has these beautiful moments of empathy and warmth. I think back to the end of season 3 where it really seems like he was concerned about his siblings' well-being. But then we look at this and it's like all these things start coming out where you're like, oh, what the fuck, Kendall? I like you. I was rooting for you. Why are you doing this? Like, God, some of the things he said here, even when Shiv says, oh, you killed a boy, which, yeah, look, maybe felt like a cheap shot. But for Kendall to then backtrack and lie, the moment Kendall started being like, no, I didn't kill a kid. I didn't. I was like, no, he's done.
You can't be CEO. You can't, because you killed someone.
Which?
What?
Wait,
Which?
which? What, like you've killed so many people you forgot which one?
That's not an issue. That didn't happen.
Wait, it didn't.
It's
what?
It's just a thing I said. It's a thing I said. I made it up.
He's done. Like, because he either seems like a fucking crazy psycho liar who would lie about something like that just to get pity, or he is telling the truth and he can flip-flop like that, and that's concerning too. And yeah, I think at that point, like even Roman has been like, all right, Kendall's lost it. Roman's out. He gets it. He's like, all right, we're idiots. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like an idiot for liking Kendall all these seasons. Like it was a tough watch. He just comes off nasty and unhinged and just mean. For him to essentially walk into that boardroom after in denial, it's a painful watch. This episode managed to bring out in terms of constantly teetering the line of empathy and like villainy, like especially with Kendall. We had this moment of like, oh yeah, we want him to be CEO, look how happy him and the siblings are, and then by the end of the show you're like, yeah, fuck this guy, Like, I am the biggest Kendall fan, and by the end of this episode, I was like, I feel like an idiot. I can't believe I wanted this guy to win. And yeah, like, do we want Skarsgård to win? No, but Tom winning. Yeah, I like Tom. But Tom makes sense. This isn't a Game of Thrones ending with Bran where you're like, yeah, that makes sense on paper, but like, what the fuck do we know about Bran? We have watched Tom slowly climb up the ranks season after season after season and just eat shit from everyone. Season 1, Kendall goes, yeah, I know you eat a lot of shit for me. Keep doing it. Like, I respect that. And Tom has done that. He has copped shit from Shiv. He has copped shit from Logan. He has copped shit from everyone. He copped shit from Skarsgård. He just knows how to do it. And he knows his moments to fucking play his card. We have that incredible quote from Tom in that episode around the election where he said like, oh, information is like a fine wine. You bottle it, you store it, you savor it, and then you wait for the right moment to crack someone's fucking head open with it. And that's what Tom has been doing this whole show. This doesn't feel like a cheap Bran the Great moment of victory. This feels earned. This feels slow. This feels like it's been built upon and built upon. This isn't just some side character. This is like a really... It's tragic for the siblings, but it makes sense. And by the end of it, you're kind of happy for Tom. He's got Shiv. You're kind of happy for Tom. He's got Shiv right where he wants. Like, he's got her back. And she's going to stay with him now because he's the fucking man. Like, he's done it, right? The whole dynamic with Shiv and Tom has been she likes kicking him because she feels powerful. And the only moments he really gets some sort of, like, respect from her is when he's being powerful and when he's kind of embodying what Logan put out. And we see that now. Like, Tom is in the power position. And Shiv is back with him, essentially, at the end of this show. And that's how it's going to go. And I think Tom just feels like a character that has learned and studied and grown. And his whole motive of, like, I'm going to go to jail because Logan will respect me, he got out of that. He didn't even need to go to jail. And then on top of that, he fucks over the siblings. And now he's fucked over the siblings again. And, like, he just knows when to lose his shit and when to shut up and just play the game. And when Matsson was opening up to him about like, oh, you know, I want Shiv, I like Shiv, but I don't think I'm going to give it to Shiv because I want to sleep with Shiv and meh. Tom knew to like be quiet. He didn't even tell Greg. Greg had to do some like detective work. But I think the thing is, yeah, we all could have seen it maybe going to Tom in terms of the American face of the company, but I think how we got there and the games that were being played and the back and forth of, oh, the sibling's going to take it, is Tom going to take it, is what made this episode and this last 30 minutes so exciting. I also must say, the work they've done with Roman this season is like excellent. He is smarter now. He is empathetic. He is almost the voice of reason. You know, when Kendall still after losing is like frantically in that office, like not giving it up. Roman's the one sort of sitting there being like, it's all fucking nothing, man. Like, we're out. It's over. Let's give it up. It's fine. We're done.
The final ripping off of the bandage to expose that terrible, terrible truth so simply by Roman
We are bullshit.
was just such a heart-rending moment.
We're nothing.
And yet so inevitable. And that's, again, good tragedy should feel inevitable, shouldn't it?
When Kendall choked Roman, and on top of that, it looked like he was trying to split his scar open. Yeah, that was uncomfortable. And that moment, along with the moment of him lying about the boy, I'm like, Kendall's out. Kendall's trash. Kendall's done. I like Kendall. I've had so much empathy for Kendall. Like, there were points where I was like, oh, I relate to Kendall. I feel bad for Kendall. But this is, this is not a good day for Kendall fans. This is... What the fuck, man?
It doesn't even make any sense! I'm the youngest boy!
What the fuck? Let go of him.
Did you say?
What are you doing?
Stop! Did you say? Kids. Don't do this. Shit, don't do this.
Fuck off me!
Nasty, nasty, nasty. I have to rant about something, and it isn't about the show, but prior to this episode, there was genuinely, from like hardcore Succession fans, like in the Reddit, fucking on TikTok, like Critics with clout and like substantial followings and like weight behind them were seriously talking about the idea that cousin Greg might win Succession. What are we... Come on. Like, Greg was not going to win. And initially I was like, oh, this is like joke discourse. Like, people are just being like, oh, let's have a bit of fun and sort of like thought experiment this out. But it's like, there's nothing to thought experiment out. All the other main characters have had so much depth behind them. What do we know about Greg? Like, Greg's a good side character, but like, we don't know what games he's playing. He has no experience. Tom brings up this episode, he's making like, what, 200k a year? Like, yeah, that's good for most people, but Succession Pit, no. And like, Mattson doesn't know anything about him. What does Greg do? I don't want to get into it. I watched this one video where they started talking about a theory that Greg intentionally gave Tom like bad cocaine, so he like was kind of shitty on the election night and like fucked up the television presentation of that. And it's like,
to Sleepy Tom. I think Greg might be intentionally giving Tom bad coke, park coke, or just coke laced with a downer that has made Tom lethargic.
Like, have we been watching the same show? Like, this, what show do you think you're watching? Like, because all these people online. Anyways, whatever.
I think Cousin Greg is probably going to be the final winner on Succession. First of all, it makes sense thematically for the show.
Breaking Bad has a good finale, all right? That's often hailed as like one of the best finales. And like, yeah, it's a good finale to a very good show, but it's also predictable and like, how else was that show going to end, really? It was either jail or death. This, every scene, the way I thought it was going was changing. And that last 30, 40 minutes were genuinely like, I can't do this anymore. This is making me feel sick. Now, feeling sick in a finale doesn't sound like much fun, but it's more so just a product of how much was going on and how uncertain I was for any of these characters. And I don't know, like, what more could you ask for a series finale? I have to say, the cast must have been intentionally misdirecting us. I think the cast were initially talking about the idea like, oh, we didn't know this was the final season when we shot the season finale. We thought it would keep going. Lies, bullshit. No, I think they were trying to misdirect us, so we thought it might be like an unsatisfying whatever ending. Nonsense. There's no way they would have filmed that last hour and a half episode with all these like beautiful character moments and like send-off moments, and also just the way the boardroom meeting goes without thinking that this show's probably ending. What a good fucking show. Like, 4 seasons, no bad episodes. This show is going to be maybe the easiest, strongest recommendation you can give to anyone. It's 4 seasons. It hasn't fumbled once, and it has this just explosive final season. Yeah, they crushed it. I might make a few more Succession videos, maybe ranking the best moments of this season or the series as a whole. We'll see. But if you want more, I'd love if you could subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.